So, how many of y'all have actually seen season 2 of Rings of Power? My review would basically be it's bad. Beautiful visuals, and there's a couple performances that I can point to that I enjoy to a certain degree, I can appreciate, but it's very, very boring. And when I say it's boring, I don't think I can properly convey just how boring it is. There are some interesting visuals, beautiful visuals at times, and if we're just looking at stills, yeah, that I can appreciate that. It's just each episode's over an hour long, and I feel like nothing's happening, and it's just a lot of talking with dialogue that seems like supercilious. It seems so unnecessarily flowery language. A lot of metaphors and very slow paced. And I thought that it would actually improve in season 2. From the footage that I did see with trailers, I thought that, oh, maybe they'll pick up the pace since they already established a lot of the era, the timeline, the characters. So they kind of did the work of establishing everything. And I thought that we just move from there and at the very least eke out some sort of entertainment in this regard, even separating out the lore deviations. But I can't even say that, unfortunately. It's such a slog. There's some, again, pretty visuals and some little moments that I think I can appreciate. It's so haphazardly strewn together. Nothing really feels connected, and the pacing is just bad. Actually, it's worse. It's somehow worse than season 1. There were some legitimate criticisms after season 1, apart from the lore, when it just came to how it was filmed and how the story progressed. There were some legitimate criticisms in regards to the pacing. The Harfoot storyline was very weak. That was kind of a dominant complaint. And that when we were in one area or one storyline and characters, and something started to happen, there'd be like some dramatic moments building up, but then we just cut away to somewhere else, to a storyline that we're not really invested in or care about that much. In that case, it was like the Harfoots was really not a good addition to the show so far. And it continues to boggle my mind why it's in here. It just doesn't fit, and it's just one extra thing that seems unnecessary when you have so many storylines going on simultaneously, and only a couple of them are connected. Like maybe like the dwarves storyline, the elves and Sauron, like that's all connected. But then you have Numenorian stuff going on. You also have Isildur that's split up. And again, you still have the Harfoots. It's just a lot of jumping around. And I thought that that would have improved. At least the showrunners would have taken some of that criticism and kind of dialed that back about how much we're jumping around. And no, it's somehow worse, and it's somehow more boring. These other storylines, like Numenor, the one episode in Numenor, which is in episode 3, we don't even see like most of the storyline or half the storylines going on until the 3rd episode, which we only have 8. And once we are back in Numenor, it's just not very engaging. They do a poor job at just like re-establishing everyone and what's going on, and to do it in a way that's entertaining and immersive. So there's a lot of that. So we start off with a prequel to season 1, which I don't think was necessary. I don't think we needed to know exactly how Halbrand Sauron, how he met Galadriel, but that is the first thing that we see is how that happens. Which actually I'm surprised. When I heard that we were going to get an earlier form of Sauron, I thought this would be around the First Age-ish, but it really just seems like it's right before. The way they do the timeline is very strange, and everything feels very compressed, like forcefully compressed. So it feels like these events just happened right before Galadriel's meeting Halbrand, which it conveys that. It's, I guess, hundreds and possibly thousands of years have gone by between his earlier form of Sauron and to when he turns into Halbrand, but there's no sense of that. And it literally just feels like he went from a puddle of goo a few days before Sauron met Galadriel in the middle of the ocean. The show does a very poor job at establishing a sense of time, a progression of time, establishing a sense of scale, because everyone just quick travels around, except when the plot needs them not to. Except when the plot requires someone not getting to a desired destination in a timely manner. Only when the plot needs to happen do people have trouble or people just not get to a certain destination in a timely manner. But other than that, they just kind of like whip around like it's nothing. There's no sense of scale. It's just kind of lost because they want the things to happen. They want to get to the events. They want to get to the good stuff, I guess. But it just doesn't feel earned. It should all be so much darker and evil. It's just contrived and fake and feels unbearable. And that's why I think people are really excited about this show in particular, the premise for this show in this time period, especially because it's so much darker, how it concentrates also on the elves. And the Rings of Power should be this huge sweeping epic. And I just feel that we hardly even see Sauron too. And I was seeing some reviews saying that Sauron is the best part of the show, but we don't see him that much. Amazingly, we're jumping around so much to even other characters that are just not interesting. Like, we do not need to have the hobbits in here. And I'm going to call them hobbits because that's exactly what they are. And I don't know why the showrunners insist on calling Harfoots and Stores hobbit adjacent. Oh, these are hobbits before they were hobbits, but they're not hobbits. No, these are Harfoots. I don't know if that's a legal issue, but they seem very bent on gaslighting people about the whole hobbit thing. But anyways, they didn't do anything here. We shouldn't have this huge story about anything to do with hobbits. This isn't their time. This is the time of the elves and Numenor and Sauron in this form and Anatar. This should have just been that. But I get the impression that they just wanted all of it when they could have just made a really good Numenor show. The fall of Numenor could have been very, like, I guess, Game of Thrones-esque, which is what Jeff Bezos wanted. I mean, it would have definitely had that darker theme, the heavy political intrigue and drama. It would have had Sauron in there and his deceptions on full display. And it's amazing visuals, too. It just could have been so good. And I feel like we're just breezing over this part when it comes to Numenor. We only got it a little bit in episode 3 and was not good. Even before in season 1, it was very much like Friday Night Lights, and it has not improved with Isildur and his sister that are like, what am I going to do when I grow up? That whole thing. Everything that was bad in season 1, I feel like they just compounded it and made it worse.